Welcome to the Successful Real Estate Broker Podcast, where we learn about some success stories and some not so successful stories. But either way, we learn. Each episode, we talk with successful real estate agents and vendors about things they have done to make them successful and some things they did that you might want to avoid. Join us for each episode of the Successful Real Estate Broker Podcast with your host, Preston Sandlin.
All right. Well, thank you, listeners, for joining in. I have a rock star here for you today, Miss Cheryl Sain. How are you, Cheryl?
I'm doing great, President. I don't know if I'm a rock star, but I like to teach agents a lot of stuff, that's for sure.
Awesome. Well, I have seen you in action, and I think you have a lot of valuable stuff that can be very beneficial to agents. And we'll get into your book, 10 Things You Need to Know About Land. But first, I'd like to hear a little bit about you. Tell us about yourself. I've done a little stalking before the podcast, so I knew a little bit about you already. But I did do a little stalking on the author thing there and whatnot. So, but I'll let you tell us a little
Well,
bit for people who've never met you.
thank you. Well, like President said, my name is Cheryl Sain. I am a land broker. I've been in the industry for over 20 years now. Back in 2017, I got this great idea about making a checklist for the residential agent community because when I find land on the MLS and I call the agent, I would know very quickly that it was a residential agent that just happened upon a land or a lot listing and they didn't have the correct information or the information that they needed. So I developed a checklist and I would send the checklist out to the agents, and say, hey, could you just fill this out and send it back to me so I can have all the information I need to move forward? And they would call me up and say, I don't know what this means, or I don't know what that means. And I was like, okay, well, then I need to make it into a guide. And the guide turned into a book, which turned into an online class, which actually I'm in the process of putting it on a different platform. So hopefully by mid-June, July, I'll have the online course back up for agents or anybody in general. And then everybody started asking me if I'd teach in person, which I really had no desire to do that. It's very time consuming and you have to go through a lot of training and stuff like that. But I did it and turns out I absolutely love it. I love the interaction with the students and the questions they have. I learn from them, they learn from me. I get, really, really good reviews on the course. And I've enjoyed it immensely for the past couple of years. I have been in the industry for over 20 years. I have 3 children. Two boys and a girl. My 2 boys are Eagle Scouts, which I'm super proud of. And my daughter's attempting to get into dental school right now.
Oh,
So,
okay. Wow.
yeah, I got a lot going on. My parents and I live on 9 acres together, well, beside each other in Union County, North Carolina. And I just love what I do. I love helping people. I have a passion for teaching people and helping them. So,
Awesome. Yeah, you live, I think, I'm thinking right in Wesley Chapel, right down the road here.
mhm,
Both our kids went to Weddington. Go
that's right.
Warriors.
Weddington High School, yeah.
Awesome. And it looks like you went to Sun Valley and then went in the Air Force.
I did. I'm an Air Force
Thank you for your
veteran.
service.
hmm Oh, thank you. Yep, I was an air traffic controller in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. Great
Wow.
place well, it's a terrible place for a teenager, but but I had a lot of fun.
Yeah, I have some memories from Myrtle Beach. I mean, in one sense they're good, but in another sense not so good.
Mhm. I was late getting into real estate in life. I didn't start until I was in my 40s. But it's something I wish I had started many years before because it's been very rewarding and you have a lot of flexibility and a lot of opportunities to help people. So I
Awesome.
really love it.
Did you think about or when I read that, I was like, huh, I wonder, did you ever think about being an air traffic control civilian or that
Oh
wasn't
yeah,
for you?
I got offered a job up here in Charlotte several times, but it's a very stressful job
No kidding.
and
I can
a lot of
imagine.
a lot of responsibility for people's lives. And I'm a very much a people person, and I love sales, and I just love being around people and the flexibility and everything. So it just wasn't something that I felt like I would enjoy on a full-time
Yeah,
basis. So didn't
I
do it.
got
Didn't
you.
go that route.
I started to say that it seems like they have a shortage now
They
too.
do. They do.
Like,
Yeah.
boy,
Yeah. I'm
but I
trying to
can't
talk more.
imagine anything
Yeah.
being more nerve wracking. I mean, in the responsibility of
Yeah.
planes, this and that. Boy, one mistake, and obviously, we saw what happened in DC and other
Oh, yeah.
places. I mean,
Yeah, you
that's
have when I was in the service, we had 4-hour shifts. That was all they would allow you to do because it's a very stressful job.
yeah, I can imagine, and it probably takes all of your mental
Yeah, you're
facilities.
completely focused on that. There's nothing else that you're focusing on except those. I was radar approach control, which is I'm down in a dark room with back then it was a big screen and it's a little blip went around and around and around and you just had to keep watching it to make sure no one was going to come close to each other. So, but I
Oh
loved
wow.
it when I did it. It was a lot of fun, but it's not something I wanted to pursue after my military career.
I hear you. Different but the same. I'm going to go down a rabbit hole here for just a second. As far as so, my wife a couple of years ago, it was either for my birthday or Father's Day. She got me that NASCAR experience
Oh
thing,
yeah, yeah.
and you go, and this was the serious one. I mean, where you drive, it's not, and there's nobody else in the car,
Oh
and
my
you go
gosh.
through this class and da da da, and you do it, and you're on the track with other people, and you have a spotter like in your ear, the whole time
Mhm.
telling you everything. I have never experienced a more intense. I mean, I can't believe they let regular people do this. I mean,
I'm sure you
I
have to
think my
sign a bunch of
fastest,
waivers.
yeah, I think the fastest I got up was 140, which is,
Oh my gosh.
these guys get up near 200 and
Yeah.
140 was, and that's in Charlotte. There's a black back straightaway. My point with this, you're probably like, Preston, where are you going with it? It was the most intense. I think we did about 15 laps, and they
Oh
tell you, and
wow.
there's other cars, but it is just like I can't explain. You're going so fast, and you feel like you're a second away from being out of control. I mean, I'm thinking, man, if I barely miss and I hit bank that
Yeah.
wall, it's all over.
Yeah,
I mean,
because
I'm going to
and
roll about 12
it's very
times.
sensitive. The steering wheel is very sensitive on those, isn't it?
Yeah, and I got out of that thing, and I was just like, well, how'd you? And it was just the most physically, mentally. I have much found respect for that, and she asked me like, "You think my dad would like that?" And I was like, "Well, I think he will, except that I'm 50, and it just about killed me. Just nothing again. I mean, I don't know, the physical and mental reservoirs it takes for that, and I can imagine air traffic control would be the same. Now that I've totally taken us down a
No,
different rabbit
no,
hole,
no. It's fun. I love hearing these stories. Yeah, I
let,
probably the
let
most exhilarating thing I ever did was skydive. I did two tandem
I was going to
skydives.
ask you about that.
Yeah,
I did that
yeah,
once too. So tell
yeah.
us, have you done it? It said
I've
you
done
were into
it a
that
couple of
pickleball.
times. Yeah, I've done that. I've done hang gliding. I'm an
I've never
adventuresome person. I'm not afraid of that stuff because you know, I God's got my back here. So
YOLO.
I just want to do that stuff. I just think it's
Yeah.
fun and exciting. I don't want to be, later on in life wishing I had tried stuff. So I just go ahead and try it.
No,
So,
100%. I love it. I did that once too, and I liked it.
mhm,
My problem with that is though, I don't know if my ears, that what do you get up like 12, 14,000 feet? I think that's as far as you can go
mhm.
before you have to, because there's a reason jets are pressurized. The pressure
Right.
gets so. Did you do it down in Clover or where did you go?
Yeah, it was clever. Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. I liked it. It was exhilarating, but it took me like a week to get my ears back. It like were popping, the pressure or
Hmm.
whatever. So now it's like I did it. I was at a conference and everybody in the or did it. And now my kids want to do it. And I'm always like the one that does the crazy stuff with my kids, like jump off the bridge. We've done that and all that. They want me to do that,
The bungee thing, you've done that.
yeah, and
I
well,
haven't.
and there for a while when they were teenagers, we used to go jump off bridges into lakes and stuff that may or may not have been legal. I will not diverge that. We were kind of into that, like jumping off cliffs and things, like
Hmm.
where the water was deep enough, and
Right, right. Yeah, we did. We would do
anyway.
that when we were younger. It was
Yeah, I'm
very
kind of like
different
you. I
though.
mean, I'm like, I'd rather do it. When I'm lying on my deathbed, I don't want to ever be like, I wish I would have done this. I
Uh-huh.
wish I want to be like, oh, I did it all.
I'm with you. I don't want to have any regrets. Like if I died today, God takes me away. I'm like, you know what? I'm good. I've had a good life. I had some fun.
Yeah. Well, my mom used to take us to Carowinds when we were kids.
Hmm.
And I mean, we didn't have a whole lot of money. We grew up in Curtisville, about 80 miles from here, but going to
Hmm.
Carowinds was a big deal. And we didn't have any money. We brought food, all that. We came out of the park
Hmm.
to eat because we weren't going to eat the. But anyway, the whole thing my mom taught me was, all right, we got there as soon as the park opened, and we stayed till it closed. We're going to ride everything once and the fun rides twice. So
Exactly, exactly.
I
I
was
love
like,
it.
that's a good metaphor for life.
I love the roller coasters. I haven't been out there in a few years, actually since before COVID. So I was talking to my daughter. I said, we need to go do that again because my daughter and I used to do them together all the time. We loved it, just loved it. Just it was so exhilarating and so much fun.
Oh, 100%, 100%. Well, anyway, now that I've taken us down a long rabbit hole, so you're really good at selling land, and I want to get into that. Now, did you do residential at all, and I know
So
you do a little
yeah,
bit, right?
so I started out. I was a single mom with three kids, and my youngest was gosh, Emma was probably 8 or 9 months old when I started. And she actually, I was 8 months pregnant when I passed my North Carolina real estate exam with her. And then not long after she was born, her father and I separated. So I was doing this as a single mom in a minivan, showing houses, carrying a
Right.
baby carrier in houses and out of houses, and changing diapers in the back of a minivan. And I'm like, I don't know that this is going to work. It's too much.
Yeah.
So I started trying to look for other avenues in real estate because I love selling, and I love the whole real estate thing. And so I came across a couple of lots, and I thought, well, this is easy. You learn about the property, you put the sign on there, and you don't have to go open doors or carry anybody around. And so I started looking for vacant lots to sell. And I would get on the GIS, the Geographical Information System, and I would just, look in neighborhoods and find vacant lots and call up the owners and see if they would let me sell their property. And that's how it grew. And then I got a mentor, and the properties kept getting larger and larger and larger until after a couple of years, I was working with the national regional builders and developers looking for property for them. That's how that
Awesome.
I got into the land part of it. And I love it because I want to teach the residential agent community, don't be afraid of that first piece of property, whether it's a lot or a small tract of land. Don't just give it to the land guy in the office because you're afraid of it. um, get my book, take my course, read about the things that you need to research so that you'll know what you're doing. Yeah, there you go. So that you'll know what to look for and where to find the information and take that first step. Or if you're just completely scared of it because someone has put the fear of God in you about selling land, which they shouldn't have, just see if they will share the commission with you, if they'll walk with you through the process from beginning to end. And that's a great way to start, especially if you've got some land people in your office that are very kind and generous with their information. So that's how I got started, and that's how I would recommend other agents to start. Don't be afraid, and that's what I teach you because we all start at the same place, and just take that first step and do that first piece of property. And they're all different, just like houses are all different, just like your inspections are. Every house is different. You don't know what you're going to run into. Land and lots are the same way, and they require different things. But once you learn what to look for, I mean, it's just like brushing your teeth. You're like, okay, we got to see if it's water and sewer, well and septic, and what are the setbacks, and is there any floodplain on the property and stuff like that. So that's what I teach is what to look for. And
Awesome.
yeah,
Yeah, that
it's
GIS is like your first chapter, I think, or your
well,
first. Your
yeah,
book set up 10 things
you need
uh
to know about land. Yeah.
know
So
about land, and there's like 10 chapters, kind of,
there
right? So
is.
is that
And what I did was
following?
I logically take someone through from beginning to end. Like the first thing you want to do is look for, if you find a piece of property or you're looking for a piece of property, you start with the GIS and you gather all the
Right.
information on the GIS you can. And then you go from there, you want to find the owner of the property. And then that's the second chapter, finding the owners. And then it goes on and on like that through the very end. We go through soils, we go through understanding deeds because every agent should be reading deeds and we don't read deeds. So that's something I teach. This is what you need to look for. Don't become an attorney because we're not, but learn what to look for in a deed and you can spot a red flag early on before you go down the path of, taking the time to do these, 20-page contracts that we do. And and you can save some money for your client, because if you spot a red flag on a deed, maybe it's something that your client can live with, or maybe they can't live with it. And so you don't want to waste their due diligence money, or, go through the whole inspection period and lose their earnest money only to find out it's something they can't even do what they want to anyway on the property. So these are the things that I help agents, and these are all mistakes that I've made in the past. So I'm teaching from actual mistakes I've made. We learn about surveys, we learn about soils, we learn about perk tests, we learn the steps of taking a property from finding a raw piece of land to developing the property, and those steps, and helping agents to understand what a developer goes through when they're developing a property and why the process is so long. Because a lot of agents don't realize by the time they see the sign go on a piece of property, that was started 2 years ago,
Right, right,
at
right.
least 2 years ago. So,
Yeah, I have so many questions. One of the first ones would be, and I've thought about this way back. Let's say you owned a big piece of property, or
mhm.
you inherited it or something like that, and you wanted to subdivide it. What's involved with that? I mean, obviously, yeah, I mean, it's probably too much for this podcast, but I mean, I'm thinking you have this huge piece of property and you want to develop it into a subdivision or a
Mhm.
neighbor. I mean, what and all? I mean, how do you? I don't know. There's so much to that. Like, I
There's a
don't know
lot.
what the
And honestly, my 4 hour class, really, everybody tells me it's way too much information for 4 hours. But I said, well, you're going to get your money's worth when you leave out of here. But the good thing is you've got the book to reference it, and everything is broken down in there. But to answer your question, you've got to understand zoning, which is
right,
another part of the program I take you through is zoning and density, and help you understand what zoning is, how it comes about, and how, if you need to change that zoning, how you go about the process of changing. So if you've got a large tract of land, first thing you've got to do is find out is what is the zoning on that property, and what
right.
do I want to do? Do I want to do by right, which is what it's currently zoned? That's another thing I teach. Most agents don't know what by right zoning is. Or do I need to go through a rezoning process so that I can get more houses or whatever I want to do on the properties? Can I divide it up into smaller tracts? What does zoning allow me to do? Because if that current zoning is a one house per acre and you've got 10 acres, they're only going to allow you approximately 10 houses on that property. That's if it perks, or you have access to water and sewer, and is there capacity available? And these are the things that I teach the agents to look for, that they don't even think about when they're selling houses, or where to look for that information. And I spell it all out for them. And at the end of the book, I write down each office in the county or the municipality that they can contact to find out that information. And I teach the agents too that, hey, you've got a county which has, you've got the big county, say Mecklenburg County or Union County, but in that county there's municipalities, and they all have their own guidelines and rules that you need to follow. So you need to find out if a piece of property is in the county, or is it in a municipality, and then that's where you go to get the information on that property.
So that's where the zoning is. So, like, you and I are probably familiar with this because where we live, but like Weddington has some deal where each house has to be, and you could probably speak to this more than me, but this is my rough
Mhm.
understanding of it, almost an acre, like point 0.9 something.
Yeah,
And
it's
in
an
multiple
R40.
times,
Yeah.
yeah,
Right.
multiple times, there have been developers multiple times, it seems like now, that have tried to, obviously developers want to make smaller lots because they can build
Right.
more houses. And I think it was just voted down again. In my since I've been paying attention to this, it seems like it's happened like 3 or 4 times.
Oh,
Um,
no, no, no. It's been happening for years. They do not want more than one house per acre here in this small little town. They want to keep it as country and rural as they can. So for years, there's been developers come in and trying to do a higher density.
right.
What they will do is allow a clustering. If they still do that, I haven't checked with them for a while, but clustering is where you can, if you've got a 10-acre tract of land and you can put 10, they allow 10 houses on it. They also say, okay, you can still put 10 houses on it, but you can put it on half of the property. That way the houses are clustered together and the infrastructure is closer, but you still got to have that green space left over. So
Yeah.
it's still 10 houses on 10
And,
acres.
and, and
And
there's arguments for and against. I mean, I'll be honest, I kind of like it because it's sort of, I live here and it's like it's sort of like I live in the country, but I
yeah,
can be downtown Charlotte in 25 minutes. but I get the argument for or against.
Hmm.
We used to, before we moved out to Weddington, we lived right over by RGKL High School. Before the
Yeah.
high school was there, it
Oh,
was
I
just a
know.
field. And there was nothing out there when we moved out there.
Hmm.
And I mean, I remember when the shopping center, Ray, what is it? Ray, not Ray Farm, Ray, the oldest one. Gosh, I can't even remember. I remember when they built Ballantyne, they first put those things up. It looked like Stonehenge.
It
It was out in the
did.
middle of nowhere. Like, what
It
the heck
was. You're
is
like,
this?
what are they doing out here? Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
I
we
can
lived over
remember.
there,
Go
and
ahead.
we
I'm
had to
sorry.
go back over 51 I mean, I'm sorry, over, well, 485 wasn't even there yet.
Hmm.
But
Mm-mm.
we had to go back on the other side to eat, to shop, anything, because there was nothing on this side of where 485 is now. And I remember thinking, Cheryl, like, man, I wish we were so excited when we got another restaurant or thing.
Oh, I
And
know. I
be
know.
careful what you wish for, though,
Hmm.
because now it's like, man, this traffic's so bad, and it's
Yeah.
like if you live out here and you're trying to go towards downtown, whether you come in on Providence, Ray Road, during rush hour, like,
Oh,
ugh,
it's
like
terrible. I had to drive down to Canopy yesterday to teach. I had 68 students yesterday, and I left my house at 7. And I did not get down there till 8. The traffic was so bad yesterday morning, and I was like, "Oh my gosh!" I can remember growing up here because I was born and raised in this area. I can remember driving down 51 and being scared to death of having a flat tire because there wasn't anything
you're
for
so far out.
miles, miles.
Oh
So
wow.
it's changed a lot. Everybody has found our little town out.
I know. I worry about that with Waxhaw too. Like I
Oh,
love
it's
Waxhaw, and
gone. Yeah, it's gone. It's
it's like now
so.
they built those apartments in there, and it's like I just worry that the thing that made it so special is now. I don't know. I know I'm sounding like, oh man, get off my lawn. I walk to school 5 miles.
It's true though. It does change when people move in. It does. So you
I,
just gotta hope they learn our southern ways.
yeah, exactly. There's a reason we say please and thank you, and
Hmm.
just you got to ask about the dog. And I got a
That's
lot of
right.
friends from up north, and I said, here's the number one thing about being Southern is you don't get down to business right away. You got to ask about the kids and the dogs.
That's right.
you
Got
know,
to get all those niceties out of the
yeah,
way
and then
so you know who you're
oh
dealing
my, and
with.
I know I have a lot of friends up north, and they say, well, that just seems like a lot of wasted time, and I'm like,
Oh yeah.
well, I
Not
get it.
really, not really. I'll tell
Yeah,
you, getting back to the course and all of the growth and everything that we have is so important for agents, even more so now, to know what they're selling and look for opportunities because and one thing I tell the students, I say, look, I want you to promise me this week you'll drive one way different. Just drive one way different home or to the church or to your church or to the grocery store or your gym or wherever you're going. I said, go one way different this week because we get a tunnel vision driving the same routes all the
yeah,
time
100%.
and you don't notice anything different. But if you drive a different way, you might notice a rezoning sign or I didn't notice that vacant lot right there, or there's an abandoned house. I wonder if I can do anything with that. And I tried to get agents, and I'm sorry, my camera's blurred. I don't know why it's doing this. Um, I try to get agents to look at land differently so that they're not doing the same old every day. And I do too. If I see a sign going up, I'm like, gosh, I should have called about that. Or I've got to do different things myself too to create more. I do a lot of my work online. I look for large tracts because I work with like the national and the regional builders. So I'm usually online a lot looking for larger tracts, and I reach out to the owners there. I'll tell you something funny that I had not mentioned to you. I don't believe it. You may have seen it in class, but I wrote a second book, and it's called How to Buy, Sell, and Profit with Land. This one is actually repurposed from the 10 things. And the reason this one came about was because as I was teaching class, I usually get there early and get set up. because it's a process to get everything set up and making sure
Sure.
your
Audio
programs
vision
work and all
works
that.
and everything. Yeah.
And so when I get everything set up and I've got a little spare time, I'll walk around as students, meander in and introduce myself and where you from, what agency are you with and that sort of thing. And I learned early on that the general public started showing up in my classes. And I was like, well, that's kind of weird. And I'm like, well, why are you here? And they're like, well, I found your book online. I bought it. I realized you were local and you teach class, and I wanted to have the class in person. And I'm like, wow, that's pretty cool. So this happened a number of times. And then I thought, well, maybe I need to repurpose the book, because the red book, the 10 things, I wrote this
A
strictly for agents
realtor.
to
Yeah.
help, to help the real estate community, real estate agent community. This one is for the general public. And agents are now buying this book to give to their clients, because I took about 6 months and rewrote a lot in there to be geared towards the general public. Like if you have a tract of land, like I went, for example, it amazes me that people don't know their property. I met with some siblings last week. There were three of them, and they had inherited about, gosh, I think it was about 86 or 87 acres. And none of them knew what the GIS was. They'd never seen their piece of property on a map. They didn't know what they could do with it. They didn't understand zoning and all that other stuff. So I sat there with them for probably an hour and a half, and started educating them on their property. I knew more about their property than they did. They inherited it a couple years ago when their father passed away. And they're like, well, how can we make money on our property? And so I said, I gave them each of them a copy of the book. And I said, if you open the first few pages, I said, I give you like 2 pages of ideas of things to do with your raw land. And they said, well, we got a cousin that's got some cows on there. I said, well, are you charging the cousin to rent that land to help pay for taxes? And they're like, we didn't even think about that. And I'm like, well, y'all got to pay taxes, right? And
Yeah.
so,
That's one of the big things about land, that
yeah.
the
So, and
taxes.
making sure that it's in the right, like making sure if it's raw land, it's in the right, agricultural zoning, so that the taxes are lower. I teach about rollback taxes. A lot of people don't understand rollback taxes, and that one can bite you in the tail if you go to sell the property and you've changed the zoning and you don't know what that is. So I go through a lot of different things that agents may or may not, come across in their lifetime, but that at least now they have the knowledge if it does come their way, or they've got a reference they can go to, is the book. So,
Yeah. I
um,
wish, gosh, Cheryl, I wish I would have connected with you about 3 years ago, because my mom, my grandparents, my grandmother died, and
oh.
anyway, my mom, there was a bunch of land, but this was in Randolph County.
Mhm.
But the siblings.
Hello, I'm Bill Gallagher with Superior School of Real Estate, and I'm here with Preston Sandlin of Home Inspection Carolina. Preston, I've always liked your style, especially those pants, and also I've been interested in the home inspection business for a long time.
Well, Bill, that's ironic. I've always admired your style, and I've always admired your ability to educate these fine folks for sometimes 4-8 hours a day. I wish that I could do what you do.
Hey Preston, wouldn't it be cool if we switched? Preston, we sure got what we wished for, buddy.
We sure did. And now that you're the expert, Bill, I mean, you are wearing the pants, and I'm the instructor and the educator. Tell us what Home Inspection Carolina is doing these days to make the home buying process easier for realtors and home buyers.
Well, Preston, all our home inspection reports now are online for the real estate agent and the client to review the report online and to be able to create a repair list basically online by either clicking repair, accept, monetary compensation, and once they prepare the request, they can then press email, text, or print right then.
You mean it's all automated, Bill?
Absolutely, we are high tech.
Wow. What else is Home Inspection Carolina doing different these days?
Well, Preston, we're training our home inspectors to be non-alarmist. We are training them to put things into perspective and to simplify the message for the homeowner.
Non-alarmist is key, Bill. You remember those days of the 100-page reports and those 3-ring binders that would just go on and on and on, la 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 la. Thank you for being a good non-alarmist.
And Preston, one more thing. We fix the small stuff for free. Do you remember when home inspectors always put those little nitpicky items on those reports?
Oh, bless their hearts.
Well, at Home Inspection Carolina, if we can fix it in 5 minutes or less, we do it for free. We're better with a caulk gun than a keyboard any day. We just fix it.
You mean there's no cost for this, Bill?
Preston, it's free.
Wow.
Well, Preston, these pants really are a catch.
Well, Bill, I've enjoyed wearing the suit, but I don't think I could wear it every day because I got to fix the small stuff for free, and I don't want to ruin a good suit.
Preston, it's been a lot of fun flipping the switch.
Didn't get along so well. So then that plays into it. Now, Randolph County is not, Mecklenburg or Union County. It's not like, they don't quite have the development we have here. But anyway, they went through a lot trying to sell it. And I'm not going to throw shade, but I feel like the agent that they got didn't really know that much about it. And it probably wound up costing them some money in the long run. I'm sure. I wish I could have steered them to you or I do. But also, let me ask you about this. This was something that came up when they were selling the land. Timber rights, apparently, or there was something about, have you heard of this? So you've got a lot of just raw land. The timber is worth, the lumber or whatever is worth quite a bit. Although, nobody likes to just see a place just mowed down. I've seen that and it's awful. But there is some sort of thing where they selectively cut. Have you ever heard of this thin it out sort of thing for the timber? Have you ever heard of anything like that?
And I'm not a timber expert, but and I've got a little bit of experience with it, but not a lot. And only because I was working with a large tract in Union County, and they had growing pines on there. Well, the pines were getting real big, and they said they're going to come through and thin them out so that they can grow even bigger. So
right. Because there is the foliage, the cover, or whatever, prevents smaller things. I learned that.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And also too, if they've got any kind of contracts with these timber companies, they may have to let it, let that expire before they can do it. Or crops, like a lot of times when a farmer goes to sell their property, they'll have in the contract that after the harvest, then they can come in there and do what they want to do. So there's all kinds of things you can write up in a contract. And a lot of people don't realize that, the seller has control over what goes on with their property. And you don't have to take the first deal. There's a lot of things you don't have to do, and everything is negotiable. And that's what I'm trying to teach agents, is that everything is negotiable. Rollback taxes are huge with farmland. I mean, man, they can be, thousands and thousands of dollars that the seller pays because they or their agent didn't understand rollback taxes. So that's a negotiable item too, which is very important. But there's a lot of things to understand that no one's really explaining to the residential community that they may never come across, but it's good to know in case they do. And we have great stories that we tell throughout the class. And almost all agents have or almost every class has agents in there that have good stories. So I really enjoy it. I learn something almost every class I teach.
Something else I've seen is like people will buy, and I never thought, I'm always trying to think of open your mind to all possibilities. These hunt clubs. Have you seen this? Like where people will buy humongous tracts of land and turn it into kind of a hunt club.
Yep.
And, I guess that helps, I guess I'm not a member of one.
Helps with taxes and maintenance.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And they're kind of buying their time because the land's going up in value and eventually development will come. Have you heard of this sort of thing, or another?
Yeah. And a lot of wealthier landowners, they will, we call it buy and hold. They'll buy and hold a piece of property. So sometimes they'll do tree farms, sometimes they'll do the hunt farms, things like that. And
or a combination.
Or they'll do these cabins. They'll do cabins out there. I've got a good friend that's a big hunter, and he has several cabins on his property for him and his buddies to go out there hunting. I mean, it's hundreds of acres. But they look forward to doing that every year, whatever season it is, so that they have a big time. But there's a lot that people don't they can't think out, like you said, they can't think outside of the box with what to do with their property, or they just don't have the knowledge, or they haven't researched enough to understand what they can and cannot do with their property. And that's where the book really comes in handy. And I tell the agents, go through it, mark it, highlight it, tab it. And I had when I first released my book, gosh, this is 2020 was my first edition. We're in the second edition of the 10 things, but this commercial guy in Charlotte, he said, "Hey, I just got your book." He said, "Can I meet you to talk to you about your book?" And I said, "Sure." And we met at like the Panera up near Waverly and everything. And he walked in, and I almost started crying because he had my book. He had it tabbed, dog-eared, highlighted, and everything. And I'm just flipping. I was like, I almost started crying. I'm like, "Oh my gosh." He said, "Cheryl, I got your book yesterday." And he had called me that morning. He said, "I got your book yesterday. I stayed up 4 hours to read your book last night." He said, "It was so full of wonderful information."
Oh,
And I almost started crying. And he's like, "Can I have your autograph?" That was the first time somebody asked me for my autograph. And I was like,
I should
"Really?"
have got you to sign my copy. I
I
didn't think
know,
of
I know.
that.
We'll have next time I see you, we will. And that was kind of weird because I still haven't gotten used to people asking me to autograph a book, but I guess I just got to get used to it. So I love it. I don't take it for granted. I have such passion for helping other people with this stuff, and I hope I don't ever tire of it because I do have big
That's awesome.
plans. I'd like to do a project with you. We talked about that before, so hopefully we
No,
can get together on our project as well.
100%. Let me ask you this, Cheryl. Is there any I've always wondered this, even with residential property. I know there's like zoning and planning. Is there
Hmm.
any way to find out ahead of time? I mean, obviously the dream is to buy a piece of property and, then them build the rail right beside you and a stop, something that's going to make the property more valuable in the future.
Yes.
Is there any way to get, and once it comes out in the business journal, it seems like everybody knows and it's too late. Like, boy, I
Yep.
wish I'd have bought land in South End or,
Hmm.
wherever, the hot spot is. Are there any things with land that you know of that you can research to find out like what's coming in the future or how that might affect
Well,
the
not as
value?
far as the business itself, but every county and municipality, they will have what's called a future land use plan or a comprehensive plan. Like I think Charlotte has a comprehensive plan. I think it's either 2040 or 2050. I can't remember off the top of my head. But what they do is they get together every so often, and they'll have all these meetings that are called like charrettes, a series of meetings where people come in and they give their ideas of how they want to see things changed. And so they develop this plan, and they call it their future land use plan. Like, this is what we would like to see be developed or grow in this area. Like, we know this is an industrial area over here, so we're going to keep that industrial. Or we know that over here is better suited for residential, and over here is better suited for commercial. And they have what's called a future land use plan or a comprehensive plan. And every municipality in town, just I think most of them have them. They should have them developed. And you can go onto their website and pull it up and look and see what they have planned. Now, it may not be the current zoning, but like if a developer comes in and they see that on the future land use plan on this raw piece of property over here, they're wanting that to be eventually commercial. They know that if they go in for a rezoning on that land, that the planning board and the commissioners are going to be in favor of that because that's on their future land use plan. They're like, "Yeah, we see that going there, so we're going to be in favor of you changing that zoning to reflect the commercial that we want because we planned it that way." So a
Gotcha.
lot of developers and stuff will come in and they'll see where the growth is showing on the future land use maps or the comprehensive maps, and they'll know that, hey, this is going to be a better route for us because that's where they are projecting the growth to go. Does that make
Awesome.
sense?
100%. So Cheryl, let's say I'm an agent and I'm newer. I've sold, 5 or 6 houses, but I'm wanting to get into land.
Hmm.
What what would you recommend? Should I read your book, take your classes, do both? What should I do? if I'm wanting
So,
to get into buying
well,
some or
I'll tell you not
getting
to self promote. I'm learning to self promote in this, and
right.
I'm terrible about it, but I'm learning to market a little bit better. I will tell you what people have said to me. When I was writing my book, I asked one of my developer friends, I said, "Do you mind just kind of reading through this to make sure that, this makes sense and I'm on track?" And he read through it and he called me back and he said, "Cheryl, I wish I had this book when I was starting out." He said, "You would have saved me a lot of time." I have brokers that come up to me and they say, we require our new agents to read your book before they start selling so that they can understand these things," which is such a huge compliment to me. And I never set out to do any of this. My goal and my dream was just to help other people, not to make the mistakes I did and kind of shortcut it. So I have taken 23 years and crammed it into this book, this book for agents right here. And I'm saving you years of bad decisions or things I didn't know. And
Learn from my bad decisions.
yeah, learn from the mistakes that I've made over the past
Yeah.
or things that have happened to me or other people that I hear about. And I have some really good stories in here and that's one of the things a lot of the students will tell me at the end of the class. They're like, "We love the stories. We love the stories," because the stories are real. They've actually happened. And most of the stories in there have happened to me. And I'm like, "Look, I don't want y'all to make these same mistakes. Learn from this." And mistakes that other agents have made that they've shared with me. And so it's a I think it's just a very short amount of time to get a 20-year education by just either taking the course or reading the book or both. A lot of people they'll bring their book to class and they say, "I bought your book a long time ago and I can't wait to take this class." And I do follow it. There's a logical layout of the book that I did. And I'm sorry, I'm looking over that way. My camera's right here, but I want to see you.
I do the
So
same
there's
thing.
a
I got
logical
double
way that,
screens and
yeah, there's a
like a
logical
Starship
way.
Enterprise in my desk.
It's pretty crazy in here. I got 1, 2, 3 lights, a mic, a camera, the monitor in the back. So there's a lot going on in here. But I
Yeah,
wanted to have a good presentation for people
sure.
and whenever I present things like that. And I am going to get into more online stuff here. I just prefer in person because I love the interaction with people personally. Like the day that we ran into each other, that was a standing room only in the back, and that was kind of cool because I
Yeah,
hadn't done a little thing
that
like
was
that
pretty.
before.
People came out for that, man.
I
That
know it
you
was
know,
pretty cool.
at
Yeah.
this day
So,
and time too. I do a lot of events, and it's funny. Like right after COVID, everybody came to events because they had been, kind of cooped up for so
mhm.
long. And then there was this waning, I felt like, because I sponsor a lot of events. It was like too many events. And then it's like, now it's like hard to get people to come to stuff. Especially this time of year because the agents are pretty busy,
Yeah.
but you filled the room and had people standing up. So that's pretty. So the book is 10 things you need to know about land. My virtual background, I have to put it in front of me, by Cheryl
Hmm.
Sain. And what's the second book? This
Um,
is more geared towards agents,
Yeah, and this
correct?
is
And
a
then
this is a how-to guide about lots and vacant land for agents, investors, and you. But it's a lot more than that because this is what I tell agents. Some agents will say, "Well, I don't sell land; I just sell houses." I said, "Okay, well, how many of the houses that you sell sit on land?" And they're like, "Oh,"
uh,
I'm like, "Yeah, probably
all of
most
them.
of them." I said, "There's things in the dirt you need to know about."
Right, right,
And
right, right.
and they're like, I never thought about it like that. I said, I know most agents don't. So, but that's this one's geared for the agents. The how to buy, sell, and profit with land. This is the real dirt and what you need to know.
I like it. I
And
like it.
this one
That's
is
more kind
for the
of
general
geared
public.
towards non-agents, I guess. Everybody else.
Mhm. Well, it teaches you about having land, and I go through the exact same research steps in the how-to book for the general public as I do with agents because that doesn't change, and it doesn't change across the country, which we're hoping to go nationwide here in the next year or two. So it's a lot of work, a lot of work.
I bet there's a lot of, and many have figured it out. I come, my mom and dad's people, if you go like, grandparents and before, and almost everybody's, we were an agrarian. I can never say this right. Everybody was farmers 3 generations ago, and there's like a lot of people had land where they grew crops or,
Yeah.
hogs,
Hmm.
chickens, whatever.
Hmm.
What's happened to a lot of farmers that I've seen is, just paying the taxes on it has
Yeah,
gotten to be such a burden that, if
it
they
is.
haven't, and if they're not making, my grandma on my father's side, was a widow and she leased her land out. Mr. Leslie like had tobacco fields, but you can't
Mhm.
plant tobacco every year because it strips you got to rotate. It's like you got to
Right.
do tobacco, soybeans, something
Yeah,
else. But
the microorganisms and everything get depleted, especially if you don't do a cover crop. And because I have 8 raised beds, but my dad's got like a quarter-acre big garden. And I've noticed over the past couple of years, because he hasn't put a cover crop over it in the wintertime, that the nutrients are getting zapped up by the sun and the weather and the rain and stuff like that. So I'm trying to talk him, and he's 85. I don't know how many more years he can do this, but he and I have a tomato growing contest every year. He usually
nice.
whips my tail, but he's getting older. It's harder for him to get out there. But there's a lot to learn about that. No, I know exactly what you're talking about. You've got to give the land time to regenerate and
Right.
keep the micronutrients and everything active in there for it.
It's farmers, man. It's a tough life. First of all, it's a lot of work. B,
Hmm.
you can have a bad weather year that can just
And
destroy
ruin
it.
everything. And what
It's
I've noticed is that the younger generations, they don't want to do the farming anymore. It's too much work for them. And that's so sad. And then the family ends up selling the family property, the farm
I
that's
know.
been,
Well, and then it's like just paying the taxes on it
yeah.
becomes such a burden, and that's
Hmm.
what you're running into. But it sounds like too, you probably have some ideas of creative ways to, like, leasing it to, people
Yeah.
with cows or something,
That's
just
what I
to
do
at
in
least
this
pay the
book.
taxes on it, you
Hmm.
know, for the
Yeah,
time
be
being.
creative. Don't let it just sit there. Be creative about ways to do it. If you don't want to deal with a tree farm or anything like that, then clear off enough land that you can have parking for RVs and stuff like that. A place for people to park their RVs or their motorcycles or their campers or whatever. And that's extra income every month. They're paying you a small penance every month just to store it there. Now you have to invest in a fence or something to keep it from getting stolen, but that'll pay for itself in no time at all. And just thinking outside the box, is it a little corner somewhere that you could let someone go and do a fruit stand on there, seasonally, and do, Christmas trees in the wintertime? There's all kinds of ways, but you'd be surprised at how people don't really think outside of the box on how they can use their land to make money to keep it, to pay the taxes
Right.
and stuff like that. So that's what I try to help people do is think outside of the box of what you normally do so that you can, for agents, help your clients to make better decisions. And if it's for you, so that you can see the opportunities out there that you're not thinking about. So that's where I hope to help people, as long as I can.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, I want to be respectful of your time, Cheryl, but before I let you go, I got to do the quick this or that game, and then I'll get all your info one last time and say goodbye. So I'm going to give you two things. This is just to get to
Okay.
know you real quick. I'll do this with every guest, just
Okay.
just to fill them out a little bit, so we know who we're dealing with here. You choose one, iOS or Android.
iOS.
iOS. Yeah, everybody says that. I'm an Android guy, but even my whole family's iOS. I'm the square
My
peg.
engineer son's not. He hates Apple anything, so he can't
Yeah,
help me when I
that's
have
my
issues.
manager, Chip. He hates them, and I'm influenced by him. He just says they don't play well with others. They like to stay in their environment, but they don't.
Yep.
If you get Apple and you got everything Apple, everything works great. But they don't want to
Yep.
play with other people in the
Well, the
sandbox.
only reason I went Apple was because when I was developing my course and stuff, my marketing girl that helped put together my PowerPoint slides and stuff, she was Apple, and so whenever she would send me stuff and I would download it and review it, it got all jacked up. And so
Right.
when my computer started having issues and everything, I just went Apple, and it was a learning curve. It still is. Everything's so small. So, but I'm learning. I'm learning
Gotcha.
still.
Gotcha. Are you a smartwatch or old school wristwatch person?
Both.
Both.
I have a Garmin that I wear a lot to keep track of my,
So do I.
yeah, I love my Garmin.
I
But
do too, man. It's like, dude, it's like an airplane thing. I can tell you what temperature it is.
yeah, yeah. But when I'm like dressed out, when I'm not like when I'm doing classes and stuff like that, I like the old timey, watches. I just love them. They're so classic. And my son is a watch fiend. I mean, we'll sit together sometimes when he's here and we will watch watch shows.
Oh, he's a watch. He's
So,
a watch guy.
oh
Like
yeah, yeah, he'll get into watching like these guys repair them and clean them and stuff. And I'm like, dude, that's so boring. And he's like, no, look how it's made and how it works and
the
all that.
precise.
But he's
Yeah,
an engineer, so.
yeah. Gotcha. Tacos or pizza?
Well, I don't eat either one of those, but if I had to choose, it would be tacos for sure. I love Mexican food, but I usually eat like Mexican soup and I make some killer salsa. This summer when my tomatoes come in, I'll make you some killer salsa.
Gotcha. Would you rather tennis shoes or flip flops?
Tennis shoes.
All right, both of these are bad, but the worst of the bad or the better of the bad. Mullet or bowl cut?
Oh God. Okay, so this you don't know about me. I used to be a hairdresser.
Oh, that's right. I did know. Well,
Yep.
I read it. I remember reading that. Yeah, yeah.
So I'm gonna say mullet. You know, if I gotta choose
Well,
between
and they're
two, it's
coming
definitely
back,
gonna be a
man.
mullet. Pardon
You
me?
see Morgan Wallen, right? Like his. I mean, like
Yeah, yeah,
they're
yeah.
they're
He's got
coming
that
back.
old school mullet going on.
Yeah. Oh, you should see my. I graduated high school in '87. You should see my picture, man. My senior picture. I have the achy breaky heart thing going on.
I used to cut
Uh,
those things.
Oh God, I look back at it and I just but it's funny how it's coming back. When I was in high school, I remember like in the library they had all the old yearbooks, right?
Yeah.
All the years before. I remember like you'd be in the library and you'd pull out one from like 1968 and the women would have like the bouffant, the big
Oh
beehive thing.
yeah, yeah.
And we would laugh like ah. And later in my life, I'm like, I'm sure people now are pulling out,
Laughing at
look at
us,
that
yeah.
dude's mullet.
Yeah. I was doing hair in the 80s when it was all jacked up and you use a whole can of hairspray.
Oh yeah,
Oh my gosh. Oh, you hadn't seen my shirt. My shirt's but let me show you my shirt.
dirt.
Shirt. Do it right
Do it
today.
right. I love it. Love it. Love it.
I have
Oh
ball
no,
caps
I
in it
I,
too.
I remember the hairspray days. The Aquanet.
Oh yeah.
I know you should see pictures of my wife from then. I mean, she's the nicest, but she had
Jacked
she
up
like.
hair.
Oh yeah, I was like, I think you're personally
Get those bangs going up there.
Exactly. I was like, I think you might be the reason there's a hole in the ozone layer because they said that stuff was like bad for the ozone or something. Yeah, this is another bad one. Had to be if you had to be, would you rather be trapped in a room full of spiders or a room full of clowns?
You said clowns or spiders?
Yeah, one or the two.
Oh, clowns all day long. They don't bother me.
Clowns. All right. If you could time travel, would you rather go to the past or the future?
The past.
The past. And the most important one, toilet paper, over or under?
Oh, you mean on the rack?
Yeah.
Over.
Over, yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody says over, except people who have cats say they do under because if it's over, the cats will do the
yeah.
thing.
Yeah, I don't have cats.
My last question before I let you go, it's the one I always ask. If you woke up, let's say I'm a real estate agent,
Mhm.
and I have all my equipment. I have my computer, my car, my license, all that's taken care of. But if I woke up tomorrow in a parallel universe, same size, city, all this stuff, and I had $5,000, or if this was you, what would you do to generate some business? Now, you don't have to go buy a computer or anything like that. You already got that. But you've got $5,000 to go. It's kind of an ROI
You're
question.
gonna crack up laughing because the first thing that popped in my head was buy a four-wheeler
Yeah.
to go drive land. If I had $5,000 and I needed to start from scratch in like a new city, but it was the same type of thing
Right. Yeah. But don't tell me you got to go buy a
to
computer or
build
anything like that.
to start building your business in
Yeah.
today's world.
Yeah.
Oh,
What
I'd
would you
definitely
do to
start a
grow?
YouTube channel. I'd start a YouTube channel and I'd start interviewing people and I would talk to everybody I could.
Awesome. Awesome.
Mhm.
No, that's good advice. It's kind of an ROI question. I mean, if I had to start from scratch, what would I get the most return?
Mhm.
What activities would generate the most return? If I was limited on what I could do, what should I do? And you're saying a YouTube channel. Love it.
I
Love
would,
it.
yeah,
Man.
well, only because I'm just now getting into this realm of YouTube and Instagram and stuff like that. Like I haven't done any Instagram since last fall, but that was only because I take care of my parents and my mother fell ill last fall. She's recovered now, but I shut everything off for a few months, and then I focused on, the CE and teaching and everything right now, and transferring over to a new platform for my online course. So I've been seriously focused on my business itself and getting everything geared up. So this next year I should be ready to roll. But what I have learned is the people that have moved into different cities with no business, and they start a YouTube channel, like maybe giving advice or whatever, because for some reason people look at you differently if you write a book or if you're online and you can send them something to look at. Like, here I am and I'm talking to you and I'm telling you about this city and everything and how I can help you grow and things like that. And people put a lot of value on that, whether it's right or wrong. They put a lot of value on that. I taught a course, gosh, probably 3 months ago, and the agent had only been working for about a year. And she was, I mean, you could see the light bulbs going off in her head when I was teaching my course to her, which is really exciting to me. They're sitting there and their
Right.
eyes are getting big and they're like feverishly writing notes down. I'm like, oh, they're getting some good stuff out of this. This is great. Well, the next thing I know, she is promoting herself as to helping people find land because now she understands it. And she is online like every day. And I'm like, you go, girl, you rocking it. And she's like, I'm getting business from this because she's self-promoting, and people put a lot of value on that. If you are in front of a camera, or if you project that you know what you're doing, you know, and you're
100%.
doing it together, and just be
Well,
I'm just saying, be transparent about it. I tell students, I said, a lot of people call me an expert. I said, I'm an expert at the experiences and the things that I know, just like you are, but I don't know everything. I said, but I'm going to teach you what I know. And that kind of gives them I don't know, it's like this is good. She's not, a fancy, I know everything person. I'm not. Nobody knows everything, but I will teach you what I know. And I love it when you teach me something that I didn't know. And I tell them, oh my gosh, I didn't know that. That's great. I got to write this one down. So I'm
that's
very
a writer
genuine.
downer.
Yeah. So I just I think if you're genuine and you're really putting yourself out there, like on a YouTube channel, to start growing, and it is hard. I mean, that it's hard to get used to seeing yourself on, like this right here. I know I should be looking into the camera, but my monitor's over here, and I feel like I'm looking at your face, but I really should be looking right here, and it's weird. So
It's hard.
I'm
It's hard to
learning
stay
some of it.
consistent too, because it's work. I mean, it's
It
work
is
to
work. It's
constantly
like
put
another job. It's
to
like
put
another job.
out good content. But
Mhm.
to second what you said, we actually bought a little second home down in Florida, down Sarasota. I've been looking in that area for a long time, and while I'm here in Charlotte looking on my
Yep.
computer, I started going on YouTube, and there were a couple of realtors that just had fantastic. I mean, I felt like I actually wound up meeting a couple of them, and by the time I
Hmm.
met them, I felt like they were a celebrity to me, even though they just had a YouTube channel.
Yep.
But they basically would, show me. It's like I could live. They made it where I could sit in my den, but live in that area and feel like what it's like. Not only did they show you the houses, what was available, they showed you like the
Yeah.
restaurants and the
The area
area
and stuff like that.
around it, showed you what was coming, and it was just I felt like I was living vicariously through them.
Hmm.
So if you can figure out how to do that, and especially if you can niche it, I think you may not realize it, but somebody in New York or Michigan who's thinking about moving here is watching you all the time.
That's right. Yep. Yeah, I'm learning. I've got a lot of fantastic ideas that I would love to help agents with. My goal after I get all my stuff set up is to start really developing the YouTube channel, a place for agents to go to say, hey, you want to learn about a septic tank? You want to see how they're made? You want to see how they're installed? You want to see how they're pumped? You want to see what a survey is? You want to see how home inspection is done and why that's important and things that you look for. So I really would like to start working on getting that channel together. I've got a lot of footage. I just haven't edited it, or I've got to figure out how I want to present it and that sort of thing. Because
Sure.
I look at other YouTube influencers and stuff and see how they present things, and some of them I absolutely love. I don't want to get into these long ones with these long talking stuff. It's like bam, bam, bam. Here's what it is. Here's what you need to know. And then it's, a 5 minute thing or 10 minute thing for their clients. Say, oh, you've never been in a house that has a septic tank. Well, I'm going to send you a link to Cheryl's channel. And she talks about septic tanks, and here's what you need to know because you've never been around one. You came from a big city where y'all had sewer and water. Now you got a well and a septic, and here's what that's all about. So
I love it. Well, let
that's
me
what
know
I'd
when it's
like
up.
to do.
I not only will I help you promote it, I'll help you with it, at least on the home inspection part. If you need a guest or anything like that, I'd love
Oh
love
gosh,
to help.
yeah, I would love that. You can find these things on all over the internet, but I would like to have one place that they can go to,
Yeah.
to just find that. So anyway, I'll sit here and talk all day. I
I
can.
same,
I'm
same.
used to talking
Well, I
for
want to be
hours.
respectful of your time. I
Thank you
said
so
45
much.
minutes. We're already at an hour, but I could talk to you all day, Cheryl. But for all, as we wrap it up here, one last time for everybody who was listening, a couple of things. If you got value, and you know you did, go to Cheryl's website, give her some loves, likes, what is it? Likes, follows, whatever the kids do these days.
And let me
But
give, if you don't mind, I'd like to give my contact information in case somebody does want to
100%.
call
That's
me.
where
I'm
I was
very
going with
open
it.
about that.
Yeah, and if you would like to follow up with her, tell us all your contact info. If anybody would like to follow up with her.
Sure, sure. So if you want to contact me, just if you have a question or whatever, I get phone calls from agents all the time, and I'll help you if I can. If I can, I'll at least steer you in the right direction. So my phone number is 704-309-5067. My email address is Cheryl Sain, CHERYLSAIN @gmail.com. And my website is CherylSain.com. So feel free to call me, ask me any questions that you have. I'll be more than happy to help you if I can. So,
Awesome. And what's let's go over the books one more time. And is there a
oh,
website?
okay. So both of these are available on Amazon. And
10,
one is 10 Things You Need to Know About Land. And the other one is How to Buy, Sell, and Profit with Land. And
awesome.
they're available
And
on
it's Cheryl
Amazon.
Sain.
Yeah,
Cheryl
Cheryl
Sain.
Sain.
And it's SAIN,
IN.
correct?
An easy way
Correct.
to remember my name, you're going to crack up. My middle name is Lynn. So I just got insane all the time. Cheryl Insane.
Oh, wow.
I don't know what my parents were thinking.
Oh, well. I won't even go in. My middle name's Pierce, so my initials are kind of messed up. So I
No.
got picked on. I got picked on a little bit for that, but it toughens you up. Toughens you up. All right, Cheryl. Well, thank you so much for your time. And again, if anybody wants to follow up, it's Cheryl Sain. And is there a website as well?
Yeah, CherylSain.com.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time, Cheryl.
No, thank you so much for having me. I look forward to seeing you much in the future and hopefully developing some stuff together.
Awesome.
Take care, dear. Bye-bye.
You've been listening to the Successful Real Estate Broker Podcast with your host, Preston Sandlin. Join us on the next episode where we'll be talking to a successful agent or vendor about the right things to do and the wrong things you should avoid. Join us on the next episode of the Successful Real Estate Broker Podcast.